So, multiculturalism in Britain. Shocking success, everyone agrees. That's an interesting look he's getting there. What? Where's this going?
Need a fact check on that.
It's going brilliantly. And you can tell that it's going brilliantly because we nearly created a racial caste system. We avoided it by literally a hair's breadth. And, okay, so we're past that, but nothing's going to change. I'll go through that in a minute. But before we begin, go over and watch on lotus.com. Dr. Benedict Beckeld talk with Stelios about the dangers of multiculturalism and explaining why exactly this paradigm is so bad for us. And this segment is just going to show us exactly proof of what
is it necessarily so bad? Because if they instantiate a ethnic caste-based system,
yeah, it's bad if we're at the bottom of it, Dan.
Well, yeah, but if they say, okay, that principle is fine, in the future we could just reorder it.
No.
So that then Wessex man is at the top, and then Mercia man, and you basically just
Hey. I think there's equal space at the top for Wessex and Mercia man.
Okay, now I agree with you now, Dan.
This is bullying. Stelios is not the only culprit. It's all of them. You're all just jealous of my purebred English genes.
You're 99%.
Anyway,
or Irish.
You may remember that on the 5th of March, the Sentencing Council, which is a quango set up by the Labour Party to create more communism in Britain, decided that what they were going to do is, for some reason, and no one was provoking this, it just came out of nowhere and said, you know what, we should have the courts in Britain consider various attributes about people when they start sentencing them. So if they were, say, a young adult, a woman from an ethnic minority or a faith minority, or maybe if they're transgender or they're addicts or something, maybe they should get a lesser sentence than would otherwise be handed down. And of course, there was one particular cohort that wasn't included in that, which was being a straight white man. You get the full sentence.
It makes sense to me to take the people who are statistically the least likely, generally, to commit certain crimes outside of maybe women and East Asians, and to punish them more.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I mean, again, it's about keeping men on the plantation, right? You have to be like, no, this is the Blairite paradigm. This is the matriarchy. You've got to understand. I mean, it's literally women, transgender, or minority. And if you're not one of those, you're a man and you deserve the full force of the law, right? So what are you going to say?
Well, and I was going to say, in a lot of countries, I mean, it just is the system that if you're not native, you automatically get a harsher sentence.
Well, yeah, and you don't have access to various privileges. Like Latvia recently disenfranchised 80,000 Russians living in Latvia, just on the basis that they're Russian. And it's like, oh, didn't know we could do that. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, this is a quango that was set up by Tony Blair. Begins with the advisory panel, gets into the sentencing guideline panel. Then in 2008, the sentencing panel finally created in 2010, I think it was, under Gordon Brown. And they've been making bad mistakes ever since.
I mean, it was set up under Labour, but of course it continued the whole time during the Tories as well.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, the Conservatives were like, right, Labour have done something. We accept that 100%. And in fact, I'll get back to that in a minute. And so anyway, yeah. So this sentencing quango decided that they were going to try and create a racial caste system in the UK with white men at the bottom and presumably everyone else on a kind of stratified progressive stack heading upwards. And so when this came out, Shabana Mahmood, who is the Secretary for Justice under Keir Starmer's Labour Party, came out and said, you know what, I actually don't agree with this. Because, of course, there was a massive amount of backlash. And I think the alternative would have been saying, I'm okay with this.
She 100% does agree with this. She just got caught out.
Well, she didn't cause this, right? So I'm not going to suggest that she is the author of this or is endorsing it, because she's done nothing but condemn it, right?
I would bet my entire net worth that in private she agrees with this.
I can't critique that. Right?
Yeah.
I've got no position with which to critique that. But she, like I said, she's not the cause of this, and she has done nothing but oppose this. So I don't know, but she said the sentencing council is entirely independent, which is part of the problem, in fact. Now there's an independent woke quango that has control over the courts that we can't democratically remove people from. Yeah, that actually, good point, Shabana. That's exactly one of the problems with the Blairite state. They're entirely independent. Yeah, okay, what are they doing then?
It was an entire Blairite project. We're going to take every aspect
Exactly.
of power of the state and we're going to put it in a quango, stuff it with our people,
Yes.
so that we control the state forever.
Yes, that's precisely the point and precisely the problem with this. And so the Labour government, who themselves are consciously a continuation of the Blairite project after the Conservatives, after Labour, and Tony Blair himself, have come out and been like, yeah, so I don't know what this quango's doing. I don't agree with it. So, okay, well, you are the government. You could do something about that. And so instead they say, I'll be writing to the Sentencing Council to register my displeasure and recommend reversing, change the guidance. Oh, yes, I wrote them a letter. Oh, well, I guess there we go, job done.
It better have been strongly worded.
I'm sure it was very strongly worded, right? And so she says, as someone from an ethnic minority background myself, I do not stand for any differential treatment before the law or anyone of any kind. So this is, a perfectly reasonable and sensible position for someone of an ethnic minority or the ethnic majority to come to. So look, I don't want to be someone who in a multi-racial society is explicitly settled out by the law and targeted and gets a worse sentence. And that principle applies also to the majority. Perfectly reasonable, right? I am going to send them a letter. Right? And that's,
She's only the Justice Minister.
She's
What
only-
could she possibly do?
she's only the person who decides all of this.
Yes.
Right? So anyway, on the other side, you had Robert Jemrick, who was the only Conservative to make a lot of noise about this. Now, again, there was another voice that was remarkably absent from this. Did anyone hear anything on Nigel Farage from this?
Nope.
I will
Right.
look into that right now.
I don't remember a word.
He may have made a tweet or something, but this went under his radar for some reason. At least I didn't see it anyway. And if not, why wasn't I just hearing it non-stop? That two-tier Keir and his two-tier Blairite society were going to literally make straight white men the underclass.
I guess it's just not an issue that's important to him.
I guess not. I mean, he's only got grandkids. Anyway, so yeah, Robert Jemrick was the one Conservative who was okay with this, who's against this, and actually decided to kick up a big stink about it. Every other Conservative MP is just like,
Yeah.
I think Farage might have spoken about it at a reform conference
Oh,
when
really?
giving a speech the other day,
right, okay.
because I can't obviously listen into it right now, but there's a Facebook post where he was saying, tonight I will speak live on illegal migration sentencing guidelines and Labour's NHS lies.
And what's the date on that?
That was yesterday.
Right, so a full month after this has all been done, and after we've got the result, Nigel Farage is finally prepared to come out against two-tier sentences.
So he's slightly behind Labour on this.
He's massively behind the curve. Keir Starmer came out and condemned this.
Yep.
Right? like long before Nigel Farage. So anyway, that just goes to show you how useful Nigel Farage is. So anyway, on the 11th of March, Robert Jemrick presented a private member's bill to Parliament, which was, there we go, so you can see it, just to make sure that the Sentencing Council is actually beholden to the Secretary of State. So they can't just do this without the approval of at least a member of government, right? So it's no longer independent. It would be actually directly under an elected official. So the Sentencing Council go, look, we've got this thing, we want to send it out to the courts. We need you, an elected official, to sign off. Okay, that's actually a much better structure. It's not an independent quango that gets to do whatever the hell it likes without any accountability. This was shot down by Shabana Mahmood.
Oh,
She
right.
blocked it.
Yes.
So
Hang on a minute. You're trying to introduce law to stop a bad thing happening. Have you considered a letter instead?
yes, the bad thing that she herself has condemned, there will never be two-tier sentencing under my watch because my letters are deeply important to the Sentencing Council.
Which they can just ignore.
But she is also going to block a legal challenge to make it so she can't do this. So just a quick thing as well. This bill was presented by Jemrick, but was also supported by Kemi Badenoch, Rebecca Harris, Dr. Kieran Mullen, and Helen Grant. So Badenoch was also backing this. Fair enough, worth pointing out, right? But for some reason, Mahmood was just like, no.
It is interesting that she rejected it, because this would actually fit quite in line with Keir Starmer having abolished NHS England, which was itself a quango. And I mean, part of the Labour goals at the moment seem to be to attempt to re-centralise a lot of the power strictly within government and take away some of the power that was originally created with those Quangos in the first place. Because they're back in charge now, I imagine the Quangos were like, well, this will keep us in charge during Conservatives, and then when we get back
we don't need them now.
We'll re-centralise everything because we don't need them anymore.
If it helps, it seems to be a genuine... Like, there's been a changing of the guard in Labour, right, from the Blairite days to now. And it seems that the new guard of Labour are actually fighting with the institutions that the old guard set up in their ignorance, thinking, well, this will be how the administrative state runs forever. And actually, it seems that in this, we're seeing that the new guard of Labour are like, no, this has to change. Like, otherwise, we're not in control of things. And, you know...
Well, bureaucrats want a bureaucrat.
Well, exactly.
And half their bureaucrating is being pushed out to Quangos.
Yes. Anyway, so... The thing carried on. Apparently, Mahmoud's letter didn't work, and so Labour threatened the 2 days before the guidelines was due to come into effect. The Sentencing Council had refused Mahmoud's request to rethink it, and so she threatened them with legislation that would override them. Okay, maybe something will happen here, maybe, and no, they didn't.
Are you telling me that nothing happened?
No, kind of, right. So the judges just turned around and Starmer was also in agreement and just said no. This was Lord Justice William Davis, one of the, he's going to be in the running with you, Harry, for like the most genetically English person in the world, by the way. If you see, there's probably a picture in here of him. There we go.
Oh dear.
So just absolute Lib Dem voting ponce, basically. I don't know whether he voted.
There are two paths for the Anglo to choose, and he chose the wrong one.
Yeah. But he absolutely looks like the kind of person who really likes Ed Davis, right?
Yeah. He easily could have been a turnip farmer in the 8th century.
Yeah, absolutely, right. But anyway, so he rejected their demands, saying that claims that judges were intervening on policy mean any judge or magistrate required to sentence an offender must do all they can to avoid difference in outcome based on ethnicity. What? Did you not read your own guideline?
It's the direct opposite of what it does.
Yes, like the guideline itself. Let's get the guideline up, shall we? Just because it's just one of those like preposterous statements, right here. Like consider the following to reduce the.
The thing is, he'd be one of those lefties who thinks that certain people start 3 steps behind and therefore at every opportunity
that is 100%
up, and then that is balance.
Yeah. So anyway, just preposterous statement from Lord Justice William Davis, and so anyway, why reduce it because of it then, right? And so the government eventually does bring forward legislation saying, look, okay, we are going to work with Parliament to fast-track this legislation to stop this from coming into effect, right? So we've written you the nice letter, we've rejected the Conservative attempt to legislate on this, and now you've gone, yeah, we're just going to keep doing it. Under the guise of anti-discrimination, we're going to make enforced discrimination the norm in the courts. And so Mahmoud and Starmer have actually gone, no, we will actually fast-track legislation if you don't back down from this. And they back down from it. It's like, right, okay, great. That's great. That's something at least, right? But what stops this from happening tomorrow?
Well, the only reason it didn't happen this time is because Jenrick made a big fuss out of it.
Yes.
Otherwise, it just would have been one of those bureaucratic things that just goes through the background.
Because Jenrick was hammering this drum, and two-tier Keir is already very sensitive to allegations of being two-tier. But the thing that I found really annoying about it, right, was Jenrick. Because, like, it's not that I don't like Jenrick, I do like him. But listen to this.
Why don't they just abolish it? Because Keir Starmer suddenly woke up one morning and decided to abolish NHS England. Couldn't he just abolish the Sentencing Council? Don't you think you should do that?
I think the Sentencing Council needs total reform. It is not right that you've got judges, unelected people setting really crucial policies affecting our criminal justice system, like saying that certain groups should be privileged through the system over others. We want equality before the law.
Well, he's probably the best Tory, but he's still a Tory.
Exactly. No matter what good things a Tory does, they still end up as a Tory. They still end up as someone who fundamentally supports the Blairite project. I mean,
Yes.
listen to what he said there. I think it's terrible and unacceptable that unelected judges are making decisions for the legal system in Britain. Okay, but that's what that quango is, right? Every single time they do something, that's what they're doing. And so Mike Graham unbelievably made a good point. Like, why don't we just scrap it? No, I want to reform it. Reform it into what?
We come a long way from the common law system.
Well, absolutely. And so it's just like, right.
He's suffering from a terrible bout of Tory, well, we can't do anything. Well, this is terrible, but we can't do anything. The secret is, especially if you're in power, if you're in government, you can just do things.
Which Keir Starmer showed us with NHS England and is showing us in this case. It's like, we will literally just legislate if you don't do what we say. And what do? They back down, right? So it's completely possible. You can make things happen. So anyway, a quick thing. Yeah, who's objecting to this? Well, lots of lawyers, lots of lefty lawyers, lots of left-wing identitarian lawyers. The Society
of Black Lawyers.
Yeah. They say that this is dangerous, by the way, a dangerous decision.
Does an openly sectarian organisation have to have any say on the legal sentencing guidelines for this country?
I don't know. I mean, you could probably outlaw the Society on Black Lawyers using current anti-discrimination law. Saying, no, look,
we couldn't do that, though.
If you don't allow white, Asian, or whoever lawyers into your society for racially discriminating, we could probably outlaw that using the current legislation.
No, they only ever apply those rules one way.
Exactly, they do, yeah. You're never going to see the Society of White Lawyers, or maybe you see the Society of Asian Lawyers, but anyway, they say that this was terrible because they were an attempt, quote, to achieve equal treatment after racist two-tier policing for 500 years. Stop you there. You have not been here for 500 years. I don't care what Netflix has told you, right? I do not care. Like, there was, saying that Henry VIII's trumpeter represents a black community in Britain for 500 years, preposterous. Since 1948, okay? First thing. But secondly, how does it achieve equal treatment if you're literally given time off your sentence because you are black, right? That's literally not equal treatment. So I'm tired of hearing this.
And also, doesn't it just basically require every criminal in the country to convert to Islam?
I mean, it opens the door to that.
Yeah, I know a lot of them convert in jail anyway because they're fed up of getting beaten up.
But if you get arrested, you just say, "Well, I am a Muslim," and they'll be like, "Oh, are you?" It's like, "Yeah, I know, I'm not dressed like one, but I don't have to be." Or you could say, "I'm transgender, but I don't have to look transgender."
Yes,
and then suddenly get put in the women's prison for a much shorter amount of time. Like, sorry, this is literally what undid Nicola Sturgeon. But anyway, so Peter Herbert, the chair of the Society of Black Lawyers, says that. And then Pavan Dilwal, the head of the charity Revolving Doors, says the Chancellor's decision to block recommendations for pre-sentencing reports for minorities is to ignore lived experience, evidence, and the reality of disparity in our courts. And so this pre-sentencing was one of the few tools we have to challenge those disparities, by giving the courts their full context: poverty, trauma, and racial discrimination. So those communities that may have a higher propensity towards crime anyway, and therefore a higher rate of recidivism, and therefore a higher length of sentencing because of past crimes that are contributing to the sentence of the current crime.
Oh, right, yeah.
They will get let off just purely because, well, they're brown, aren't they? And it's like, that's not good enough.
Well, I'm sorry he murdered somebody, Your Honour, but have you considered he does have traumatic mental health issues? Well, in that case, he's free to go.
So this leaves us, just to end this quickly, is in exactly this is a perfect example of why this is everything that's wrong with Britain, right? So the first hand, you've got the administrative Blairite state. No one's been fired. Nothing's been changed. It's going to continue in perpetuity. It's going to be that Labour governments are at war with their own Labour Blairite legislative state, bureaucrat state. Great. What are they trying to do? Well, they're trying to literally create a racial caste system to give minorities privileges over the majorities. And this has got, you can see this, the charity, the Society of Black Lawyers, this has got a large, well-funded and protected activist class whose entire job is to create racial privileges for the people they belong to against the majority of the country.
All the time there's stuff like this that flies under the radar that never makes it to the top of the news cycle.
Exactly. This is why this is such an important one. And the only real opposition, there's no far right being like, hey, this isn't on. It's Robert Jenrick, a Conservative who doesn't even want to change the system.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.